Don't forget to subscribe this video, activate the clock, like this video, share it and write a comment. Let's go. Americans of Reddit, what surprised you when you visited Europe? Yeah, basically, we, Europeans, are always hearing weird things about America. What do you, Americans, have to say about funny, strange things you saw in Europe? Surely we're not even aware of it. The Italians' way of driving. Never in any time of my life was I more paranoid of being hit by a moped. Went to London and Paris recently. I tipped a bartender in London and he looked shocked. Also, everything I bought was the exact price it said. I'm so used to adding up 6.5% to everything. Went to France. The most surprising thing to me was the sheer amount of graffiti everywhere. I live in a fairly large city, but I've never seen graffiti on that level. How awesomely rural a lot of England is. I stayed in Cambridge and was impressed by how well preserved the green space was. Also, when you buy produce, how it's usually labeled with the farm it came from. Awesome. The three things that struck me when I visited France for the first time: so many people smoking. You can actually get near old things. I live in California, where 150 years is archaic. Walking through a 900-year-old building, and being able to touch the walls was mind-blowing to me. Just how insanely easy it is to spot other Americans. The main thing that cracked me up was how people view distances. I was in Hartlepool, UK, for work and wanted to go out and have fun. One of the locals said, "Well, you could go to Newcastle, but it's a long drive." It was like 30 friggin' minutes away, which is nothing to me. I live in Houston and it can take over an hour to drive across the city. God forbid you want to drive across Texas. I went to Tiger, by the way, that shit was intense. The rivalry between the people that live 20 minutes away was odd to me as well. Like Rotterdam versus Amsterdam have a big rivalry, don't wear the wrong team's jersey in the other city kind of stuff, which is really crazy to an American. That would be like me having some huge rivalry with someone in Sugar Land, a city outside of Houston. We really don't have crazy rivalries like that, except for people who live in Boston. Other things. The public transportation was amazing. I was surprised by all the people pissing in the streets. The racism is interesting, more out in the open, and people really say what's on their mind, which I appreciated but also found rude. The age coins for cigarette machines were funny. Lastly, all the young people at the bars were kind of a trip and made me feel really old and weird. Edit. Spelling edit. To all the Americans that are saying things like, "Well, you obviously haven't been to blank, or heard about blank and blank, go YouTube some European soccer hooligan riot porn and that's what I am talking about, not stealing the other team's mascot and spray painting their statue." I also was not aware of the Duke and Chapel Hill rivalry. I've received so many messages about this. In Zurich, I was surprised at how lax everyone is about drinking. I go into one bar, everyone's got a pint of Guinness, and it was like walking into a coffee shop. It's strange to not be carded and everyone being civil. And in another bar, it was strange to see two teenage girls get a pint of Carlsberg and gab about she said gossip, in German, which was kinda strange, but amusing. They drank their beers casually and only drank one each. People in Scotland, specifically Glasgow, are the nicest I've ever met, seriously. People would have friendly conversations with you at bus stops, and one person even lent me £2 spare cash at a gas station for petrol. It seems to be 90% of people there are like that. Very unusual. No ice in my drinks. How fast, or rather the normal speed, everyone walked, to be honest. I get ridiculed for walking so fast in malls, in school, etc. But when I visited England my pace was common. Also how fashionable everyone was. I visited all over England and consistently people dressed nicely. Probably not nicely to them, they were just taking pride in their appearance. In the States it is not uncommon for people to walk the streets, grocery shop, even eat out while wearing sweatpants, PJ pants, tights, baggy shirts and sweaters and hair tied up in a quick mess. I previously has this opinion, but it was an eye-opener to me at how truly horrifying America's accepted style really is. I'm Canadian, but I had a pretty profound moment when I realized the bench I was sitting on was older than my country. Norway. Your cashiers are allowed to sit. Also, a lot more racist than what I've ever experienced here in America. And I think I saw maybe 3 fat people in the month that I was there. I traveled around most of Europe with my parents when I was 15. By far, the most surprising part about Europe was how relaxed you guys were with sexuality. I'm from the South and being open about your sexuality is generally frowned upon. But in Europe? Boobs. Boobs everywhere. When we first touched down in Belgium, there was a museum which had an exhibit called The Art of Orgasm. I found an ad booklet in Switzerland for watches that was just 20 pages of attractive women making out. One night in a hotel I discovered that most of the channels on the TV were soft. I shared a bedroom with my parents for most of the trip. It was a challenging time for me. Your stick figures on signs are much more active than our stick figures. Like this guy. I'm a Dutchie, but I've lived in the States for 20 years now, going back every so often to Holland, Germany and the surrounding areas if possible. Belgium is always a laugh. I'm always surprised and delighted by 1. How nice it is not to have someone bag your items at checkout for stores. If you forget, they just wait for you to remember or cough. Hilarious, but quickly turns a little embarrassing. 2. How still, to this day, kids in school bring their own lunches or go home for lunch, at least in Holland. On the same topic, kids in school, how relieving it is not to see giant yellow school buses. Seriously, no seatbelts? 3. That 98% of the time you will encounter someone who knows at least 1, if not 2, other languages fluently, with English being most common. 4. Rude people being rude. No fake grinning for appearance's sake. People tend to only smile at you if they mean it. 5. Having meals. I think of home, Holland, and I think of eating kitchen meals with family, friends out of their homes and doing the dishes together. Even when eating out in regular, not fast food, eateries in Germany, Belgium, France, Luxembourg, it feels more intimate and relaxed. 6. How glad I am that I can see the back wall of the grocery store. It makes me a little freaked out when I can't see the end of the building. 7. Body hair equals not a big deal, relax. That Germans are actually really funny. In American media, Germans are generally portrayed as humorless and, well, efficient. It wasn't until I lived there that I found out that's actually just the Swiss. The German sense of humor is at times quite dorky, burnt das Brot, superbrain, laureate, etc., or else very, very dry and deadpan. At one point my parents asked my German wife, "So, what do they teach children about Hitler in German schools?" And she replied, "Well, for starters, that he's from Austria." She cracks me up. Thanks for watching. Bye.